What haunts me isn't what I did, it's what I quit doing. I'm Clarence, 81 years old. If I make it to 89, there's one small thing I'd do again, and it isn't what most folks guess. I grew up on the south side of Savannah, in a 2-room house that smelled like onions and laundry soap. My daddy worked the docks. My mama cleaned houses for a living. We didn't have much, but we had a table. Wood, scarred up, one leg a little shorter than the rest. Every evening, Daddy would come in, tired, wash his hands at the sink, and sit. Mama would set out chipped plates and those thick glasses that used to be clear. We'd eat, slow, and the whole house would settle down around us. When I was a boy, I thought that was just life. I didn't know it was something you could trade away without meaning to. I left home at 19, Army first, then work up north, Detroit, then Chicago. I chased a paycheck like it was a promise. I met my wife, Lillian, at a bus stop in Chicago in 1966. She had a red scarf tied around her hair, and she was humming like she belonged to herself. I offered her my gloves because her hands were bare. She looked at me and said, "No, baby, you keep those." Then she took them anyway. That was Lillian, stubborn, warm, funny, all at once. We married the next summer in her auntie's living room. The cake leaned a little, but we laughed the whole night. I can still hear her laugh. It had room in it. At first, we did what my parents did without thinking, supper at the table. Even if it was just beans and rice, we sat down and faced each other. Then the years started stacking up. 2 kids, a mortgage, a job at the plant that paid better if you said yes to everything. Nights, weekends, holidays. I started saying yes. Just this one extra shift. Just until we catch up. Lillian never fought me about it. She'd pack my lunch in a brown paper bag, kiss my cheek, and say, "Be safe, Clarence." Dinner got later, then separate. The table became a place for mail, school papers, and unpaid time. We still loved each other. We just started living like 2 people running the same race in different lanes. I missed little things first. A school play where my son kept looking for me in the crowd. A Saturday morning when my daughter learned to ride a bike and I was asleep after the night shift. Lillian would tell me about it while she washed dishes, like she was reading the weather, trying not to sound disappointed. Sometimes I'd find a plate covered with foil in the oven and a note in her handwriting that said, "Eat when you get home." I'd eat standing up, half listening to the television, and I'd think, this is just how grown folks live. But there were nights I'd pass the table and see one chair pulled out, like she sat there by herself for a minute, waiting to hear my key in the lock. I didn't know waiting could wear a person down. One night I came home after a double shift. Lillian was sitting at the table with the kitchen light off, just the street lamp throwing a pale square through the window. She had a cup of coffee in her hands, but she wasn't drinking. I said, "You all right?" real casual. She said, "I'm fine." Then she said softer, "I miss you, and you live here." That sentence sat in my chest, and I did what I'd gotten good at doing. I nodded, kissed her forehead, and went to bed. The next day, I worked. The kids grew up and moved out. I kept telling myself, when I retire, we'll have time. 2 months after my retirement party, Lillian found a lump. The doctor said the word nobody wants to hear. Cancer. The days turned into appointments and waiting rooms. Lillian hated pity. She'd straighten her back, crack a joke with the nurses, and then squeeze my hand a little tighter when nobody was looking. One afternoon, after a long visit, we sat in the car and didn't start it right away. Snow again. Quiet on the windshield. Lillian looked at me and said, "Remember your mama's table?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I want that again. Not the food, the sitting." So that night I cleared the table like it was serious work. I moved the mail. I put the bills in a drawer. I wiped the wood down until it looked like itself. Lillian came in slow, wrapped in a sweater, and sat down like she was coming home from a long trip. I made coffee the way she liked it, sweet enough to make my mama scold me. Lillian smiled, and that little smile felt like air. We didn't talk about cancer at first. We talked about the kids, about the neighbor's dog that barked at nothing, ordinary things. And the ordinary things started to feel like the real things. That became our habit. Every evening, no matter what kind of day it was, we sat at the table with coffee, sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. If she felt sick, we still sat. If I felt restless, we still sat. 2 cups, 2 chairs, 1 small return. There's a picture in my mind that hasn't faded. Lillian had lost her hair by then. She wore that red scarf again like the day I met her. She reached across the table and touched my hand, just a light touch, like she was checking I was still there. She said, "This is the part I'll take with me." I wanted to say I'm sorry for the years I gave away. But what I said was, "I'm here." She nodded. For that moment, it was enough. Lillian lived 18 more months. Hard months. Mornings when she couldn't keep food down but still asked if I'd eaten. Days she was angry. Days she was quiet. Days she laughed so sudden it surprised even her. As long as she could sit, we kept our table time. When she got too weak, I pulled a chair to her bed and set the cups on the little rolling tray. It wasn't the same, but it was still us choosing each other. The last week she could barely speak. One evening I held the warm cup near her hands. She didn't drink. She just rested her fingers on it, like she was holding warmth itself. I watched her breathe and tried not to bargain with God. After she passed, the house made too much noise. The refrigerator clicked. The clock tapped. The pipes groaned. And that table sat there, clean, waiting, like it didn't know. For a long time I couldn't sit at it. I'd walk past, set my keys down, keep moving. I thought if I sat, I'd fall apart right on that wood. Then one Sunday my grandson Marcus came over. He was 24 then, all legs and worry. He stood in my kitchen and said, "Granddad, you got coffee?" I almost said no. Habit. Then I heard Lillian in my head, plain and steady. The sitting. So I put on the kettle. Marcus sat at the table and looked around like he was noticing things for the first time. The scratches in the wood, the old photo on the wall, the chair that used to be Lillian's. He said, "I've been messing up with my girl. I don't know how to fix it." I didn't give him a speech. I poured the coffee, sat down across from him, and let the quiet do its work. After a while, he said, "You and Grandma always looked calm together." I let out a small laugh. Then I said, "We kept coming back." That's the one thing I'd do again. Not a job, not a new house, not even the trips I told myself we'd take someday. I would come back to the table, on purpose, while the people I loved could still pull out a chair. If you've got someone you care about, and you keep meaning to get to them, don't wait for things to calm down first. Make something warm. Sit down. Let the day be unfinished for a few minutes. Look at their face and let them see yours. And if you don't have that person anymore, like me, then still sit sometimes. Put your hands around the cup. Let the quiet come. It hurts, yes, but it also keeps the love from turning into a rumor. If I make it to 89, I don't want to brag about what I earned. I want to remember the sound of 2 cups touching, and a woman in a red scarf saying, without words, "I'm still here with you."